What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So today in an interview, Draymond Green claims that he is the greatest defensive player ever to grace an NBA court. Not, in his mind, the best today or one of the best ever. No, he says he is the GOAT. And he gave specific reasons. He feels like he has a sixth sense defensively, high basketball IQ, very good at help coverage and drawing defenders into double teams. And he's he says he's an excellent rebounder, which I think he's more of an average rebounder. Okay, to me, an excellent rebounder is someone who averages double-digit rebounds for their career, not 6 boards, 7 boards, maybe one season averaging 8 or 9. No, an excellent rebounder is somebody like Dennis Rodman who averaged 13 for his career, even though the first 3 or 4 years of his career he didn't even start. That's an excellent rebounder. Excellent rebounder is Moses Malone, who led the league in rebounding, I think 5 or 6 times. Draymond, you've never led the NBA in rebound. Okay, you've never led the NBA in block shots. Okay, I don't believe, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong in this one. Someone can tell me if I'm wrong. But has Draymond ever led the NBA in defensive win shares? That is a stat. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but I don't think he's ever led the NBA in that. And you played on the Warriors, a team that obviously won a lot of games. So Tony Allen took him to task on Twitter, saying he's capping. Like, who did you infamously clamp? You know what I'm saying? Is there really any moment where somebody say, hey, man, remember that game when Draymond Green shut? No. So then Draymond came back and said, well, remember in 2015, Tony Allen, when we put Andrew Bogut on you because you can't score, you're not really an adequate scorer, and that changed the series around, and that led to me winning my first title, you know. And then Tony Allen said, well, shit, if you want to go that route, when the Warriors are playing, it's more like they're playing 4 and 5 because you're not showing up offensively, which is true. But I do like one thing that they said, though, at the end. They said, when people say, oh, man, I love this beef, he said, no, this ain't beef. We got no issues with each other. We just talking shit because this is just basketball. I do like that. Even though I think Draymond Green is an overrated motherfucker, considerably overrated, he makes the point in saying this is just basketball. And that's what a lot of you guys don't understand. It's not personal. They're just talking shit about basketball. Oh man, you're a hater. You're a hater. It's basketball. Once it gets personal, once you start talking about someone's personal life, that's when you cross the line. That's why on my channel and most other people's channels, you rarely ever hear us talk about something off the court, unless it's something positive, like what LeBron's doing something. But on basketball, on the court, that's fair game. And that's what you motherfuckers need to fucking start understanding. Okay? On the court, you can criticize LeBron James. You can criticize all these other guys. I can criticize Draymond Green's opinion because number one, it's my fucking channel. And it's fair game because he's making a bold historical statement. So if you want to come over here and say I'm hating, kiss my ginormous, gigantic, Andre the Giant sized ass. Now, about him saying he's the GOAT defender. I saw an article where someone was like agreeing with him, saying, well, from 2014 to 2018, yeah, Draymond definitely has a case to be the best defender during that time period, and blah, 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 and all this shit. Well, during that time period, right, let's just say 2014 to 18, Who was really out there? Mark Gasol. Uh, who? What other great lockdown defenders are there? Uh, Gobert, who doesn't get his just due. Um, who? Think about it. Think about it. From 2014 to 2018, who's really out there? It's not like he's a giant among uh, defensive peers. And if you go before 2014, there's that guy named Joakim Noah. And you go a little earlier, Ben Wallace was still out there. He's not part of that era. Okay? So it's not like he has a lot of competition defensively. This is not a defensive oriented league. So just playing a little bit of defense is going to stand out in a league full of bad defenders. And as I said before, and I'll say it again, the Warriors created a role for him that would have not existed 20 plus years ago. Now, people keep saying he's a versatile defender that can guard all five positions. Let's be honest. Draymond cannot fucking guard perimeter players. Not for any extended period of time. Okay? He does not have the quickness to stay. Come on, seriously. Can Draymond Green really fucking guard motherfuckers like Trae Young? Does he really have the foot speed to guard a prime Allen Iverson or a prime Jordan? Let's be honest, man. Back in the 90s, and I made this comparison before, he would be another Byron Houston. Byron Houston was a star in college, and Byron Houston wasn't a bad player. The problem was Byron Houston was 6'5" and 230. And that made him just small enough, height wise, to be a liability to guard post players, power forwards, and centers, with the exception being maybe Barkley. But the reason why Charles Barkley lit his ass up for 56 points in three quarters in the finals game is because Byron Houston did not have the strength, the core strength, to guard a guy like Charles Barkley. And also, he didn't have the speed to guard most perimeter guys. And he was out the league in 3 years. And I see the same thing with Draymond Green. Wasn't that Byron Houston didn't have any skills? It's just that he didn't have a position. And Golden State created this position for him. And he says a lot of outlandish shit. Shout out to Ticket TV because he's right. He says a lot of outlandish shit. Look, everybody should be able to. I'm not saying he shouldn't uh, have confidence in himself. But since when has it been cool to proclaim yourself the greatest? Back in the day, people got salty when it got leaked out that Jordan supposedly said to a group of reporters that he was the GOAT. Remember back in the day when that leaked out, Oscar Robertson and Wilt Chamberlain and all these motherfuckers said, "Oh, wait a minute. How do you feel like you the GOAT? You didn't play against us. How the fuck you know you better than us?" They changed rules to slow down Wilt. They changed rules in college to try to slow down Jabbar. They changed rules in college to try to slow down George Michael. They changed rules in the NBA to try to slow down George Michael. They created a position and a role for Draymond Green to flourish. Now, I ain't talking about the offensive part of his game, which is garbage. Okay, just straight trash. Okay, he's just straight trash offensively. But usually, if you're a star defensive player, that's good enough to make you at least a perennial all star or at least like in the conversation. Dennis Rodman, even though he was only an all star twice, he was usually in the conversation. Probably should have been an all star a couple more years, but remember, the 90s was loaded with great power forwards. You only could have but so many power forwards in the all star game. Sean Kemp, you know what I'm saying? Derek Coleman, fucking Sharif Abdul Rahim, Antonio McDyess, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Vin Baker. You know what I'm saying? Uh, I'm only touching the surface with this one. What other power forwards were there in the 90s? Um, Buck Williams, Cliff Robinson, uh, Otis Thorpe, uh, shit, a whole bunch of them. You know what I'm saying? Is this dude an all star? When's the last time Draymond Green been an all star? And when I was watching the NBA, man, see, there was a time when the NBA was truly a defensive league. Okay, you could argue that the quality of basketball wasn't a casual favorite, with the final scores being like 93-90, or with the great defensive teams 73-69, right? But you saw war. You saw a slugfest defensively. And to score, you had to be a nice motherfucker. You had to be a nice motherfucker. That's why I know today Allen Houston could average 30 points a game in the right situation. And Allen Houston was not a star player in that league. But I just know he could light it up. And Glenn Rice would average 30 in today's game. Reggie Miller, with his mentality, he could average 30 plus in today's NBA in the right situation. Um, but that's when you saw a glut of great defensive players, awesome defensive players, all positions. Whether you talk about the centers with, you know, Ben Wallace emerging or Dikembe Mutombo, oh no no no, oh no no no, Alonzo Mourning, you know what I'm saying? Patrick Ewing was still a force. David Robinson, Akeem Olajuwon. Shit, I'm just coming up with people in my head, man. Or Kurt Thomas, who's a power forward. I'm just thinking of all the great defensive players: Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan. Shit, some role players: Rashawn Leonard, Roger Bell, Bruce Bowen. Draymond Green is nothing special. You want to talk about a great defender as far as anticipation and situational, clutch defense. Mutombo. I saw Mutombo in one sequence blocks, I think 4 or 5 shots. Do you know how hard it is to block a shot and gather yourself and block another shot as the ball is being caught and shot by somebody else? The Kimmy Mutombo, Manute Bol, Mark Eaton are the three best shot blockers I've seen with my own eyes. Okay, now I'm not talking about Wilt and the other guys before that, but those motherfuckers, they instill fear in defenses. Motherfuckers didn't take it to the cup They didn't challenge these motherfuckers out the wild unless they had to. You know what I'm saying? You try to sneak one by Mutombo, he send that shit to the fucking third row. Oh no, no, no. Mutombo was a guy that led the NBA in blocks, rebounds, and was Defensive Player of the Year 4 times. Alonzo Mourning led the NBA in blocks. Dennis Rodman led the NBA in rebounding 7 consecutive years and won 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards at a time when you had prime Elijah Wan and prime Jordan and prime Alvin Robinson, you know, saying Patrick Ewing, prime Mark Eaton, you know, saying Manute Bol setting a record for most blocks in the fewest minutes. You know what I'm saying? An emerging Scottie Pippen, you know what I'm saying? Michael Cooper, Dennis Johnson. They were legitimate all-time defensive players in the league, and Dennis Rodman won that award twice. And then somebody said in an article, well, Draymond Green was essential for the Warriors winning that championship. Who else can be that said? Who else could that be said for? What about Dennis Rodman? If you take Dennis Rodman away from any of those late '90s Bulls, they wouldn't have won any of those titles. Shit, I even argue that, and I said before, Dennis Rodman should have been co-MVP in '96. If you sit down and watch that fucking series, Dennis Rodman dominated games defensively and rebounding. He dominated games. He was the key in some of those close victories that Chicago had against Seattle. If it wasn't for him dominating with those two, I think it was game 2 and game 6, with those 2 rebounding performances 2 times. He grabbed 11 offensive rebounds, tying Elvin Hayes' record. He did it twice. The only thing I give Draymond Green is I think he has a good understanding of the game and he has a high basketball IQ. And I think he's a pretty good help defender. I give him that. But you know who else that describes? And I'm being completely honest, Will Perdue. Will Perdue had a high basketball IQ and he understood the game of basketball. But you know, and that's why he lasted as long as he did in the league. But ability wise, Will Perdue was below average, okay, or average at best. But that's why he won a championship with Chicago and he was valuable on those Spurs teams when he went to San Antonio because he has a high basketball IQ. But that does not equate Hall of Fame status. And I've always contended, I'm gonna end the video with this bullshit, okay? I'm trying to end this bullshit with this. I've always said that Klay Thompson, to me, was much more valuable defensively than Draymond Green. Because in today's NBA, offensive players are more perimeter orientated. You don't see, now don't get me wrong, guys do switch. But let's not forget, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, it didn't happen like it does. It doesn't happen as much as it does now. But guys switched. There were switches. And Bill Russell, especially when he was younger, I say under 30, he switched all the time defensively. Bill Russell could guard from the center position to the point guard position. I'm going to give Bill Russell his due on this one. Bill Russell could guard all 5 positions and was an athletic freak of nature with a 44-inch vertical leap. The only reason why people don't ooh and ah about his athleticism as much is because he happened to play in the same league with Wilt Chamberlain, who had a 52-inch vertical leap. Fucking crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? But Klay Thompson is the guy that's usually guarding the guys that could really fucking score. He's the one that's really doing his best to contain those guys, while Draymond does a little. And then on the offensive end, even though guarding, playing defense tires you, and it did affect his offense at times, Klay was still able to drop 18 to 20 points a game on any given night, and then some nights he's able to light your ass up. So like I said, to me, Draymond's not even the most valuable defensive player on that team. It's Klay. And ever since this team has gone downhill, where's his greatness at? And it's the same motherfucker that said he could easily do what Charles Barkley did if he was playing with the Kings. But where is this? Because Steph really needs some fucking help. Steph can't do it all by himself. Steph has stepped up. Where's Draymond? Nowhere. People need to call this dude out on his bullshit, man. You know what I'm saying? You ran KD out of town. You stole $100 million from the Golden State Warriors. Just shut the fuck up, man. Just shut the fuck up. And people keep acting like his prime ended in 2018. Nah, conveniently, that's the last year he won a title, right? Now, what happened is KD left town, and people who were along for the ride have been getting exposed. That's what's going on. Cause shit, Mourning, Mutombo, Ben Wallace, weren't all these guys still great defensive players going into their early 30s? Draymond is just what, 30? 29? I don't know. All I'm saying is, man, fuck this dude. Tell me what you guys think.